The failure that leads to your greatest success. A pause from the post of Dr. Strive Masiyiwa. Failure sucks, whether it is in a sport or an entrepreneurial venture. Failure can be very bitter and painful. Just think of the guy who misses a penalty in a World Cup final. How do you pick up yourself from that? You must. It is your life. My first attempt to get into the telecoms industry was actually frustrating failure. Here is how it happened. Round about 1991, a huge American company contacted me about this amazing telecoms venture called Iridium. You should Google it on Wikipedia. This was before cell phones. It was a satellite-based telecom system that represented the most advanced innovation the world of telecoms had ever seen. The American company Motorola was going to build this system as a global system. And can you imagine, they asked a scrappy little entrepreneur from the backwaters of Africa to be part of it. How cool was that? The whole project was valued at over $4 billion, and that was 1991. Well, I dropped everything I was doing to chase my dream. For the next 2 years, I was on the road, hobnobbing for the first time in my life with real big boys. Geneva, Paris, Monaco, London, Nairobi, Joburg, New York. I crisscrossed the globe, flying coach, but I was young. To own 5% of this giant venture, I had to raise $40 million. And if anyone came to Africa with one of these funds, I would get a cut. What a beautiful business. So it seemed. First problem I had, that $40 million might as well have been $400 billion because it was way out of my league, except I did not know it. I would have struggled to raise $400,000, never mind $4 million. Somehow I thought I could do it, which was just delusional as I look back on it. But after 2 years, I was exhausted. I lost the rights, and they were bought by a huge Saudi company. Embarrassed, I headed back home to find my business in total disarray due to neglect. For the next year, I pretty much disappeared as I rebuilt my construction business. But something amazing had happened. Without even realizing it at first, I had stumbled into studying the world development of something called Global System for Mobiles, GCM, and I realized that I could enter the industry more cheaply through this ground-based system. I switched my interest completely. Suddenly, all the contacts I had made and all the things I had learned on the road watching those big guys became a massive windfall. It was like I had advanced 25 years as an entrepreneur. The rest is history, as they say. As for Iridium, it was built and eventually collapsed. It went into bankruptcy and was restored, and is actually operating, but it is not even worth a fraction of what I eventually built for my own investors over time. There are so many lessons for you in this. Thoughtfully sit down and jot down what you see. Read other people's own comments and see if you can add something new. Here are some of my own takeaways. 1. If such a proposal were made to me today, I would have turned it down. Today I turn down proposals like that every week. I have a better understanding of what I can and cannot do. You must always be careful not to be sucked into things that you are not ready for. I was fortunate I did not lose my business back home altogether. In the end, I succeeded because I went back to the basics and I did something I had the capacity for. I consider that whole thing a misadventure except for important learnings. 2. Any situation, whether good or bad, has lessons for you. I used the lessons of that failure well, but I do not believe that it was my destiny to go into something that would fail. 3. Any failure has lessons for you, even if it is a complete business failure. Many of you will fail many times before ultimately emerging as successful entrepreneurs. There is no one on this platform who has read and understood many of the lessons I have taught who would make the mistake of chasing a project like that for 2 whole years. 4. God does not put you into bad situations in order to teach some lessons. You put yourself into bad situations most of the time, or some other people do. But in rescuing you, God will use that bad situation to teach you important lessons. Afterthought. You will face many defeats in life, but never let yourself be defeated. Maya. I have grown most not from victories, but from setbacks. If winning is God's reward, then losing is how He teaches us. Serena Williams. The most important capital is skill. Having a skill at something and being able to do it well is the most important step in having capital. If you know how to do people's hair, you always have an ability to earn money, which you can save up to do the thing you really want to do as an entrepreneur. Their education equates to an actual workplace skill when it actually does not. The education makes it easier for you to acquire skills quickly and keep learning. So many graduates look down on craft skills that could be useful ways to generate income. This is not wise in my view. When I left university, I had a degree in engineering, but the first thing I did was to get some engineering craft skills, which meant I could always fix something to make a bit of money on the side if I needed to. When I was 25, I could fix almost anything electrical or electronic. I also had mechanical skills and could use a machine called a lathe. I actually went to a local machine shop to learn how to use it. These days, I envy you guys because getting basic skills is so much easier because of YouTube. It is all there if you know where to look. A friend of mine was always a joke. As a child, I used to polish shoes for pocket money, so I will never be without money in my pocket. It was so easy for me to leave my job because I never actually feared that I could starve. One of my nieces was never strong academically. One day, her mother expressed her worry to me about her daughter's future. What does she like doing? I asked. Nothing. All they do is work on their hair and watch movies, she complained. Okay, let's get her into a training program for doing hair. Well, you know the story, right? Today, she runs her own little hair salon. She owns a home and drives a nice car. She's not married but has 2 lovely kids. She will never starve, and yet we have graduates moping at home, angry that the government has not given them a job. Give God something to multiply today. 0 times 100 is 0. What can you do with your hands? That is a startup capital. Shadrach O. Jones writes, Strive Masiwa, good morning, sir. What if the individual possesses enough skills but lacks the financial resources to put the skills to work? What would your advice be, sir? My reply, I have spoken about this before, and you can go back to my detailed discussion on it. But let me say it again here. Raising money to finance a business is a key skill an entrepreneur must possess. It does not matter what other skills you possess. If you do not know how money is actually raised to make a business big and even bigger, then you are actually not in the game. It is a skill. Startup capital is just to get you started, but you will need to raise real money. I am still learning how to do it, and I have been doing it for 35 years. I even own a bank. You cannot solve a problem you don't know you have. With all your gettings, get a skill. Before skill comes knowledge. Some tough love from a father. Most entrepreneurs that I meet believe they actually know how to raise money. It is hard to teach someone who thinks they know when they don't. My real breakthrough as an entrepreneur occurred when it dawned on me that I had no clue how to actually raise money. It was the eureka moment when I smiled to myself and said, oh boy, I am clueless. Hey, I put away childish notions that you go to a bank and beg some for a loan, or you beg someone in government. Oh, there is just so much stuff you learn from high school teachers, which is not going to cut it. People put it. When I became a man, when I became more mature in my understanding, from then on, I could learn what I needed to learn and raise huge amounts. Now, here is the thing. I have actually done enough to take you to the next level. I will not be returning this way again. Focus on substance. A lot of entrepreneurs who are yet to start a business will tell you their vision is to build a Pan-African or even a global business. It is a nice vision, and it is important to have a vision. But when you actually start, you must be practical. You must first win your domestic market. Begin in your town or a city that you know and know well. Then expand nationally and conquer as a national business. I had been an entrepreneur for more than 12 years when I set up the first business in the region. If you look at the likes of Aliko Dangote or Patrice Motsepe, all won at home first. Circumstances beyond my control forced me to leave and focus outside sooner than I would have liked. Once you leave your home market, you will face challenges that are 10 times what you see on your home front. You need experience and capacity to endure, which is not possible at the beginning. Even if you have built a digital platform which allows you to go anywhere, still you must be shrewd about your initial focus. Netflix had to win first in America before going global. One reason why many successful small business owners never become bigger. There are a lot of small and even medium-sized business owners who are very successful at what they do, and yet they never scale to become national or even have a business that would be listed on the local stock exchange. Why is that? One reason is that they begin to focus on their own comfort ahead of the business. They build a house, buy a farm, better car, holidays, and so on. The business exists to fund their ever-increasing needs. There is nothing wrong with it if that is what you want. It is, after all, your money. And I would never criticize anyone for what they do with their money. Just a word of advice though. If you really want to build a big business, you need to defer some of that stuff. Things like houses, cars, holidays, divert capital from the business. When I was living in Zimbabwe, I lived in a middle-income neighborhood called Veinona, and I never bought a luxury car like a Benz. All my holidays were taken in the country. I pushed every cent into growing the business. I always had one objective: to list the company on the ZSE and then get paid in dividends and capital growth. Then I hoped to do those other things, albeit with moderation. Don't compete with your own business for capital because your business will lose. Resist the temptation of growing your business through politics. In a comment this week, I pointed out the importance of fast growing big scaling in your home market. The only problem you will face in the home market is that temptation to use political influence to drive the growth of your business. People who become successful through political influence of powerful friends and relatives are susceptible to three problems which ultimately hurt their ability to be continental or global players. 1. Anywhere in the world, if you rely on the positions of powerful friends, relatives, and tribal kinsmen, it will be almost impossible to avoid corruption. 2. Sometimes you might be able to avoid the corruption, as many do, but you are susceptible to the perception of corruption. People will find it difficult to believe you are not corrupt. Such perception will hurt your reputation ultimately, even if you do not initially care, because you think you can fix it later. 3. If you rely on your ability to cultivate political influence in order to get favors to grow your business, it will be very difficult for you to operate in countries where you are a foreigner. You will not even be able to go to the country next door before you come back running to the safety of your country. There are certain entrepreneurial skills that you will not develop properly. I'm not saying you won't get rich, but ultimately it is not sustainable and not entrepreneurial to focus on developing political influence as a way to become a successful entrepreneur. If you want to succeed as a true entrepreneur, keep a healthy distance from politics. It is one of the bedrock principles of my life. Advice I once gave to a pastor. A friend of mine was a very successful pastor with a huge church in Nigeria, which was full of young people. Brother Strive, what advice can you give to me to make these young people more prosperous, either to start business or to get good jobs? My reply was simple and immediate. Open craft centers and teach them skills. This country, like all African countries, has a desperate shortage of crafty skills like carpentry, building, electrical works, and farming skills. In a few years, You could be churning out mechanics, electricians, technicians, hairdressers, farmers, film producers, nurses, and so on. I continued, if you use your churches also as skill centers, you will transform your communities overnight. Look at the early church or the way missionaries entered our countries. It was always part of the playbook. It was probably not the answer he expected, but I'm a practical guy. How to rest as an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is the hardest job in the world. You are always working, always worried. I always marvel how someone who is employed is able to just take a leave and go home just to sit. I've never actually had such an experience in 35 years. You need to also know how to take a break and recharge your batteries. Let me show you how to do it. You must focus on national holidays when everything shuts down and there is no one to do business with. My own favorite time is the window from 20th December to 6th January. My wife's birthday is 15th January, so it is the last day of my holiday. I begin that holiday by going shopping for my family. It is a tradition in our family. Everyone must buy something for the others and not themselves. Then I look next to Easter weekend. That also allows me to snatch 10 days also. I don't like to stop for any other holiday unless it is a global holiday. I will always respect the holidays of others, including my staff, but I am always at work on any short holiday. After that, I'm done. I need the world to stop before I can stop. In Europe, everything stops in August, but it has never been my holiday because my focus is Africa. I am the Duracell bunny. I run along and hard. I don't like people around me who have need for 1 month holiday and that sort of thing. They make me tired. And when I am on holiday, I'm still active. I don't like the idea of doing nothing, as though I am a laborer in need of physical rest. I just give the brain something else to do.